I think it's about time that I probably told you who I am and my involvement in the world of Muay Thai. So my name's Joe Commentator. I've been a commentator and a content creator probably for about the last 2.5 years. But to really get into it, we have to go right to the beginning. I got my start in the world of Muay Thai in around 2011, 2012. I'd just broken up with my girlfriend at the time and I'd broken my arm, and before that I was heavily into lifting weights and bodybuilding, as everybody my age was into that at the time. But when I found out about Muay Thai, there was something that instantly drew me to the sport and wanted to keep fit and in shape. So I decided this was the right time to go and try Muay Thai. The first gym I went to was a gym called Bulldog Manly, who's owned by an English fella called Nick Stein, an absolute legend of New South Wales kickboxing and Muay Thai. Now, it's a bit more of a Dutch kickboxing-esque gym, but it was where I got my start in fundamentals. Moving on, I went to continue my studies at university over the other side of the city, and I was looking for a more traditional gym. And then I started doing privates with Andrew Parnham, who, if you know in Australia, is a titan of the sport, creating opportunities as a promoter, as a gym owner for thousands of people in the state of New South Wales, let alone Australia. I eventually made the move over to his gym at PTJ, and after about 6 months had my first fight on the Real Hero promotion. I did fairly well on that. I ended up stopping my opponent with knees to the face in the second round. And from that moment when I got my hand raised, I fell absolutely head over heels for the sport of Muay Thai. Fast forward, I amassed a pretty decent amateur career, fighting between 60 to 63 kilos, plowing through a lot of opposition and doing fairly well on the New South Wales circuit. Now, one of the biggest things about my fight career was that I had a terrible relationship with food and partying. Every time after a fight, I would go on an absolute bender and tear up the pizzas. So you can imagine myself, who was walking around 69 to 70, cutting down to 63 to 60, that's a fairly big cut and blowing back up again. After about my 12th fight, I think we went to Thailand for my first trip in about 2013 or 14. We went to Hong Kong Muay Thai up in Chiang Mai, and I had a couple of fights for them. I absolutely loved fighting in Thailand. One of the biggest takeaways for me was the lack of pressure, the fact that I didn't have to cut weight up there, and 3, I could actually have fun with the fight and just learning to play the game. I came back to Australia and had a pretty lackluster professional career. I got knocked out a few times, I lost a few fights, I won a few fights, came back to Thailand, had another couple of fights. In the mix of that was partying, eating, still having my terrible relationship with food. My very, very last fight was on Australia's premier promotion, Rebellion Muay Thai. I fought a young up-and-comer, Joe Coverdale, who now owns his own gym in Victoria, a great guy. He stopped me in the second round with big punches. I was always susceptible to big punches, being a Muay Thai fighter. But also, the end of my career, my heart just wasn't in it anymore. And why am I telling you all this? Because this is part of my story. This is part of my mission as to why I do what I do. To save fighters the trouble from making the same mistakes that I have made. If we go to 2017, that was the end of my career. I ended up moving back to Thailand in 2018. Looking to try and restart my fight career. Now, life always gets in the way. One of the main ways to stay here is by working, getting a work permit. And back then the visas were a little bit trickier to navigate. And of course, me being a qualified teacher, that was one of the few things I could do. And with teaching full time, it's hard to balance that with training. Probably not the best way to stay in Thailand if you want to fight. Now, we all know what happened with the pandemic. Everybody got a bit fat. I ended up eating too much and probably drinking too much as well. And those habits developed over time. And from walking around 68 to 70, I shot up to about 100 kilos. So not very proud of that indeed. But this is why I'm telling you, I want to be transparent about why I do what I do so I can save you When Muay Thai started exploding again in 2022, Matt Lucas from Fairtex gave me a call. We'd known each other from training with each other at FA Group back in the day. And he said, "Oh, Joe, I know that you've got some skills in content creation. Would you like to jump on board and try out some commentary?" So I did a show at Fairtex with him. He said afterwards to me, "You can definitely do this. You just need more practice." So I'd been part of the Fairtex commentary team for the last 2.5 years. Nearly every single Saturday you would have heard my voice. Now, part of this led me into content creation. I thought, why don't I use the skills from university and actually start making content? My very early content was centered on the Fights at One Championship and giving fighters a voice. And then I gained friendship with the Saw Dechapan crew and started trying to build up some of the media for their fighters as well. For me, it's about giving voices to the fighter and giving a story to the fighter. I know because I've put my body on the line, and I know that you guys put your bodies on the line. You guys deserve to have the world know your stories. This is part of my mission statement. After doing some of that content, I decided to launch my own podcast, Chok Moi Chats. Initially, I was trying to do it every single week, but a lot of work goes into it and editing takes forever. So I decided that I'm only going to release them once or twice a month. There's no real schedule. It's basically whenever I can fit them in. Now, the podcast is based around everything Muay Thai. It's not just for fighters. I've had the boss of RWS on. I've had Pinky Donnell. I've had trainers. I've had nutritionists on. I've had fighters, of course, Alfie Pierce being one of them, Nico Carrillo, JP Gallagher, fabulous trainer. So definitely go check out some of those conversations about Muay Thai. Now these days, what am I focusing? Well, I'm a part of the RWS team, and I have been for quite a while now. Rajadamnern Stadium has always been one of my favorite stadiums. It's always been my dream to be a part of its history. Now, I never fought there, and I probably will never fight there. So how can I be a part of its history? Well, by calling fights, by being involved in media, by following around fighters and telling their stories. And that's what I have done for the last 2.5 years. I have now lived in Thailand for 6 years, and there have certainly been ups and downs about living here, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So that's a little bit about me. I've had a bit of a rough fight career. I fell in with some of the right people at the right time, and I hope you like my content because I do it for you. I don't do it for any other reason than doing it for the love of the sport and trying to build other people up. So if you like my story, if you like this video, if you like this channel, please chuck a subscribe, either a like or share with your friends. Let's make our sport global in 2025. I'm Joe Comerford, former fighter, content creator, and commentator at RWS, SKS Empire, Fairtex Fight, formerly at Omnoy Stadium. You name it, I've been there. I'll see you there. Let's get 2025, people.